You're listening to Old School Movements, and this is a lockdown special. You understand?
Hello, guys. I'm Daz the Dazzler, and today we got another episode of the Old School Movement Lockdown Special. Now it's board games. Sit down, listen, relax, because there's also the quiz. See ya. You know, they're called board games because they're bored. They're on boards, right? Not because you're bored, so you play a game.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, you know.
But you can see it like that, can't you?
It's like, they're games when you're bored. They're board games.
Board games.
I always know it as a board of wood. It comes on a piece of cardboard these days, but what would have been a wooden board, wouldn't it? A chessboard.
But the trick is, the thing is, not all of them come with boards, but the first game I'm going to mention is not with a board.
No, not.
And that's Connect 4. Connect 4 is not a board game.
No, it's not.
So it may be when you're bored, you play Connect 4.
It's that type of board game.
Yeah. It's that type of board game. There's other games we're going to mention that are literally board games, but there's some games that actually...
They were like pre-80s, weren't they? If you think the 80s did come up with these new style of games. Before that, it was board games, which I mentioned
chess
probably
and
later. But
grass and backgammon.
but during the 80s, we had these weird shaped things that weren't on a board anymore. So Connect 4 was like a vertical sort of grid with slots that you put little discs in.
Connect 4 is probably my favourite game of that time.
I would say so.
Because two of you can play. Yeah, it's a quick game and it's
fast and furious, isn't it?
It's noughts and crosses.
That's really. Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So that's what Connect 4 is.
Yeah.
Noughts and crosses.
Do you know what I mean? And no one's ever thought of it like that, but it's the same thing. You've got that grid, and you've got to stop people from getting that connect.
4 in a row.
Exactly.
4 in a row. Do you know what I mean?
It is a good game, yeah. Come out in the year I was born. Good, 74.
What year did it come out? 74.
February 74, yeah.
And every household, some year in the 80s had Connect 4.
Must have a Connect 4, yeah. That and a Rubik's Cube. Games. Everyone's had one.
Everybody had Connect 4. But did you have a preference of colours?
Well, red, obviously.
Yeah, I think I was probably red. I always going to go red. I don't know why. It's not a favourite colour of mine.
I don't know why it had to be red.
Is there still some sort of Liverpool connection there, Stacks?
It's possible.
I'm thinking maybe.
But no, Connect 4.
You've got Arsenal home and away there, haven't you? Red and yellow.
It's true.
Yeah, there you go. You've done your homework. But Connect 4 was like a cross between like noughts and crosses and that same kind of thinking level. Not on the same level, but like a drafts or a chess.
Yeah.
You'd think about your
move ahead.
A strategy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a bit of strategy and skill it did. But it was one of them games I find that whoever goes first is more likely to win. You can sort of control. It was always the way, because we play it often still now, and I must admit, out of the three of us that in our house, I'm probably not the greatest out of the three of us. I get beaten quite often.
Yeah.
But I always find it's the person who goes first. I think it's something to do. I think it's got odd number things down the bottom. So whoever gets that first one, they're more likely to win. I find. But it's a great game. Great game to have.
It is a great game. Do you notice that we sounding a bit robotic at some points?
Yeah. So
you have gone a little bit. I've only just noticed it with you.
Yeah. But it's all good. This is what happens when you do podcasts on Zoom and it's shit weather.
Yeah.
You get that combination. So Connect 4. Every one of us, everyone listening to this podcast, if you were around in the 80s, you must have had this at your house at some point. But then they made a miniature size one as well, didn't they?
Yeah, like a travel one. Yeah.
Travel one.
Yeah. That was good. The one back then was better than. I had a travel one more recently, and it was nowhere near as good as the one back in them days was a miniature version, the same little plastic things, but
like the
I think
full-size ones.
Health and safety, kids swallowing them, they've had to totally change it. So it was not. I can't think what was different, but it was nowhere near as good. It never got played with. It was nowhere near as good as the old travel size one. I love that little travel size one.
What is the thing that what is it about like these days? There's so much health and safety for children, and when I think of that, I think, weren't we children? Like,
we were all right.
Didn't you care about us in the 80s?
Nah, they didn't.
All of a sudden, you care about children. Like, children have been around since beginning of time. But all of a sudden, you have to worry about children. I'm like, hey, I was a child in the 80s.
You can't have this car because the wheel might come off. You can't have these teddy begs. The eye might fall out. We didn't know that. We just you got given it. And
we had
play
lead.
with it.
Our cots were
We had sense.
Exactly, lead figures, lead paint.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We had sense. We went, okay, that's lead. We're not going to eat that.
Chocolate fags.
Yeah, that's that's a hard bit of plastic. We're not going to put that in our mouth. We know the difference between a bit of plastic and a sweet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why don't kids these days know that?
It must be the common sense,
mate.
What's going on?
I don't know. That's a crazy one. I
It is,
just
isn't
don't
it?
get it. It is. So yeah, all these games, these board games, are in no particular order. Just games that we like. So
They would have
Chris,
been getting played with.
You still play Connect 4, you say, Chris?
Still play Connect 4 quite often. Yeah, still a great
Do you
game.
still play it, Stacks?
Yeah, 100%.
I ain't played it since I don't know.
Haven't
It's a
you?
good game,
Bloody
man.
hell.
Yeah,
Oh.
I ain't played Connect 4 for years.
We have to have a game of Connect 4
Yeah.
when we get out of this predicament.
Yeah. So another game that we've all collectively loved, but it's a Stacks favorite. Woo 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 woo. Is that Star Prize sound?
Yeah,
It's a game where you know it just put everything into one shell. But there were games before it where you had to watch and not get the electric shock sound, and you went around
Wire loops.
a wire loop. You know, you don't want
I
that to
still
happen.
love that game as well.
That keeps you entertained for ages, doesn't it?
That was a good game, but you had to be steady, and it was an accomplishment when you got to the other end.
You felt like you were going to get an electric
it.
shock. You felt like it was going to, like it was going to. Oh,
Yeah. So, but this game that we put into our top games, this was that, but it made it, and it was educational on an anatomy level.
Anatomy level, a weird anatomy level, like your Adam's apple and your.
Yeah, and that game is Operation. Stacks, you love that game,
Mate,
didn't you?
That's the game.
Operation.
You can't beat Operation, mate. It's a big game. Big game.
When's the last time you played Operation?
We've got one here. I bought one for the kids. Or
Yeah,
I bought them for them, but it's kind of, I played it probably more than they have.
I haven't played that since the 80s.
Probably about, like 2-3 years ago. But, you know, you got to love it, mate. Trying to take
I haven't played it for a
brand
couple
out.
of years.
That's the one.
We got one upstairs. It's missing a few of the parts. I know there's like the elastic band's broke and.
So how does this game work? Is there a timer? If you have to take stuff out in a certain amount of time, or just take things out?
No, you just have to take things out without buzzing the side. So there's
no timer.
No timer.
It changed over the years. When it first come out, I think over 50 years ago, when it first come out, it had cards and money, and you would pick a card.
Yeah, that's it.
And it would like tell you like so and so's having an operation. I think you'll get £100 if you can successfully remove his funny bone.
Yeah, that's the one.
At the end of it, it was whoever done the most operations have the most money. And then they changed it to literally, it was no cards, no money, just the game. Whoever got the most bits out once everything was out, it was I think take it in turns, and that was it. It was just it's over. It was they simplified it a lot, I think.
Yeah, no, I've got the one with the money.
You've got the one with the money.
The one we've got didn't. The one we got is just the simplified version.
Yeah, no,
it was recent. We bought it in the last probably 5 years.
So that's the game where the red nose buzzes, right?
Yeah.
And that's
red nose buzzes.
If you touch the side.
If the tweezers had a wire, didn't they? The tweezers were connected by a wire, and you had to get the little bits out. But the bits were so tight, they only just barely sort of came out. You'd have to sort of get them at an angle, wouldn't you?
Well,
pull them out at an angle. So there was quite a little art to it. But I found it didn't last long. The game didn't have that much longevity. It was over quite quick, and after a couple of goes, I give up with it. But it's a wicked game to have and a wicked game to start with.
Yeah, to start with. So that's the hors d'oeuvre of games in quarantine.
That is a starter to a bigger game. Isn't it? I read a story recently. This is quite ironic. The guy who created it was a guy called John Spinello, and so he created it over 50 years ago, and he sold it to a games company for I think like £500. The idea of it. So he's never ever got any royalties out of it, and only a few years ago he found himself needing an operation. and he had no money to pay for this operation.
Sorry,
He went on to like a they created like a Just Giving thing, and he managed to raise money to get this operation done. But he needed to get 25 grand. He sold it for 500. It's worth 40 million. That is what the company's makes off of operation.
MB Games.
I think it was MB or
It's
one of
MB
those.
Games. Yeah. The reason why I think I'm laughing, it's ironic how he sold that game, but then he needed an operation.
An operation. He needed money for an operation.
The guy that created Operation needed an operation.
That is crazy, isn't it? That is crazy.
Oh my God.
I think that was sometimes not longer, maybe I don't know, 5-6 years ago that it happened. I think so.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's still about. I'm not sure. I don't know. But yeah, that is quite bad, isn't it? The Operation's definitely in the top 5 of games. Connect 4, Operation.
So Operation's like the hors d'oeuvre before you play Connect 4.
Yeah, before you play one of them long games. One of the longest games that we're probably chucking in there is going to be the original Monopoly.
Oh yeah,
it is.
That's a long game, and if you're playing it with a few of you,
and I blatantly haven't played that since the 80s.
Really? That's another one. I still play.
Yeah, I played that.
No, that's not my.
There's been so many variations of it, and I'd like to play one of these newer high tech with the keypads or whatever they are instead of banknotes. I've never played that one yet. Oh, that one's been out a while now. I know someone who plays that one.
We got a cheaters edition, which is quite good.
What's that?
So, like some of the chance or community cards, you have to cheat, but you can't be seen by the other lot. If you get seen by the other lot, then you either have to pay them or you go to jail or whatever.
Oh wow!
But yeah, you got certain cards will tell you to cheat. So if you're in jail, you actually get a handcuff as well. And if you're in jail, might pick a card and might say, yeah, you have to slip off these handcuffs without anyone seeing, and move someone else's piece, or you have to move more pieces than you're supposed to, more spaces than you're supposed to. It's really good, actually.
That's a good version of it. Yeah, there is so many variations of it, and then you get the special, like the Star Wars version, the Simpsons version. You get them ones as well. Yeah. Monopoly's massive, isn't it? It must be around the world massive.
I think I've got
the original one.
I think I've got an Italia 90 one somewhere, proper old one. I know, Italia 90 Monopoly. I don't know.
Wow,
that's probably worth a bit now. Man.
Yeah, that was a big game in the 80s. I remember we used to go around a friend's house on a Sunday, and this is before computer games and all that in the house, and you just sit down from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and whenever it finishes, it finishes. And that's the last time I played Monopoly.
It was big, man.
Sometime
so
in the
many pieces with it, and you had to make sure you don't lose all the little houses.
Yeah,
I liked it as well because all the original ones had the metal pieces, didn't they? The dog, the hat.
Well, they're not metal no more.
Yeah. I think they are. I don't know.
The ones I've got are metal.
Monopoly probably is the perfect game to play.
A family game that's going to waste hours on.
Yeah, it's probably the best game in lockdown. It will take a lot of time, and you'll get some people who just can't get frustrated and just come out of the game.
Yeah, and you'll end up having a fight over who wants to be banker.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I haven't played it for ages, but I would take that into lockdown.
It's a great game.
It would keep me company, and that's why it's in our top 5 games.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Now another game that Stacks. I don't know if you were too familiar with it.
This is a great game.
Yeah, but we mentioned it in the past. It's a game that I had. We see adverts of it all the time. It was Fortress versus Fortress, and you had to get your weapons out, and your weapons were crossbows and catapults.
I remember the game. I never actually
made by Tommy, 1983.
I'd loved that game.
I
saw the advert.
The advert,
yeah. And it's one of the adverts. It's one of the only adverts I saw that I actually got what I saw on the advert. Like, I want to get that. And
I want to get that. Yeah. Every time you saw the advert, I've got to get that. My brother reminded me that we did actually have it. It was one of them joint presents that you got.
But there were so many levels. You can get small sets, or you can get massive sets.
You could build up on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all elastic bands, wasn't it? Like elastic bands and like the discs out of Connect 4. When it was like
Yeah. And you had your team. You had the Vikings versus Barbarians or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'd have
literally
crossbows and catapults. And for those people who don't remember the game, you had 2 sides, and you literally just had to mash down each other's walls. It's like Game of Thrones board game.
Elastic bands.
You just had to mash up each other's fortresses, and whoever
you were meant to be 6 foot apart in a 5
Yeah.
foot wide square. That was your like arena, wasn't it? And you set your
Yeah.
castles up either end and then fired
Yeah.
on each other in turn. Very much like Angry Birds.
Yeah,
The modern day version now would be like an Angry Birds thing, and you chuck
that'd be
something at something.
the catapults. Yeah,
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
I wanna play that now.
That's spot on. Yeah, it's like Angry Birds, Game of Thrones. Yeah, that's it.
Game of Thrones, Angry Birds. I want to play that now.
Game of Angry Thrones.
Game of Angry Thrones.
Yeah, crossbows and catapults, man. I absolutely love. But do you know what? Do you know what I really wanted to do is get like a matchstick, light it, and fling it over to the other side so they burn down their castle.
Burning cannonballs. Yeah.
Get inventive with it.
Make this shit realistic.
Yeah,
special effects going on.
Yeah, this is the matches flying across the room. That'd be wicked. But kids, don't do that at home, kids. Health and safety.
Look after your crossbows and
catapults. Again, I would say it was probably 70s because it was before I was born. But we always used to have this weird patch on our carpet in the front room. I never knew why it was, right? And what it was my brother had the old Batman car. He used to put the match in the back.
The matchsticks.
Yeah. And he burnt a hole in the carpet.
There you, mate. See, matches and toys and kids don't work.
No, they don't. They don't.
No, they are fun for a kid, but they don't work. They're not good.
And crossbows and catapults, whatever level you had, it was still a good game. And our final game now, again, not a lot of people will remember this. And again, I ain't played this one since the 80s, but I knew I loved it. I knew I loved, I'd seen nothing like it. Again, it wasn't a board game as in a board, but it was when you were bored, this will keep you entertained, man. And that was Downfall. I loved Downfall.
I didn't play it much, but
no, I love Downfall.
It's a really good game, though.
Yeah, it would keep you occupied. It's that whole dial. It's the whole coordination.
The safe cracking, and it like cracking safes.
Yeah, mate.
It was wicked.
It was like the cousin of Connect 4, because you had those pieces, but they were little pieces.
Little tiny
ones. Like pills. Little pills.
They drop at the bottom.
Yeah, little coloured pills. You just like. Do you remember?
You could get deep at it and think, right, if I'm going to turn it, because they were offset where the holes that the pills dropped in. So you knew if I was going to turn mine left, that your side's going to drop down before mine. So you'd have to work out, do I go right first and does mine dropped out? Like it had a bit of skill and strategy to it still.
Yeah,
it was good. I like that game.
I would take that into lockdown.
And you'd load them up at the top, wouldn't you? When you load like 3 or 4 or 5 counters up in each side and clip the corners down, and then start them off like as they drop down. Yeah, that game was good.
Yeah.
Downfall was in there.
And most of the games we've mentioned, I think they're MB games, apart from Monopoly and Crossbows and Catapults.
Crossbows was Tommy, definitely
Tommy. But the other 3 were MB games were killing it in the 80s, you know. Yeah. MB games were big. But Chris, what did MB stand for, man? I put you on a spot there, didn't I?
Yeah. No, I didn't even get MB down for any of these. Like I wrote Tommy. I wrote Monopoly was originally created by a left-wing feminist in the US who didn't patent the game, so she's got no rights to it. But that was in 1903. But that Monopoly was originally a game that was drawn. You drew it out. You'd find out the instructions and you'd draw it out on your own board. And you'll either lend it to someone, your next door neighbour, for them to play. And like looking into it, the board looked totally different, but it was on the same principle. You land on a board, you pay someone rent, or you can buy a property. But looking into back into that is quite a good story, I think. But I don't know what MB. You know, any idea what MB
stands for? Milton Bradley. The Milton
Bradley games.
That rings a bell. They owned a lot of. They bought up a lot of games.
Yeah,
definitely brought up a lot of the games in the early 20th century, I think.
And since '84, it's been a division of Hasbro. Products include Battleship, Buffalo Bill Gun, Connect 4, Crossfire, Fireball Island, Hero Quest, Hotel, Hungry Hippos, Game of Life, Simon. Simon, great game. Twister, Yahtzee. Twister's also a great game.
Twister's good. Yeah.
There's more, but you know.
There's more, but that's the 4 that we chose. Because with Twister, you'd have to get a load of people.
You need to, yeah. And
and that ain't social distancing at all. That ain't working with social distancing at all.
That's when you're in your 20s and partying.
Yeah.
You're
and
drunk. Definitely not social distancing. Yeah.
And drunk. and a lot of other things. But yeah, board games, man. You know, we had to select. We had to select our five. Our five are done, even though they weren't all board games. But they were games if you were bored, and isolation, lockdown, you would be very bored. So those games would have worked perfectly. So yeah, man, we went through some games there, guys, man. But it's that time again. It's the time I love. The time everyone loves. It's a lockdown quiz time. We've got our fourth contestant for our game show, our lockdown quiz. We've got Rashid from West London. Rashid, you there?
Yeah, I'm there, mate.
Wicked. So, as you know, this is the lockdown quiz that you were in. I hope you know your 80s trivia.
I'm all right. I'm not bad. I'm not going to say nothing.
Wait until he's heard his score.
I don't know nothing.
The score to beat Rashid is 8. So
8. Okay.
Yeah. And the rules of the game is you've got to answer as many questions based on 80s, pure on the 80s, within 60 seconds. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're good.
You feel the 80s energy? Is the 80s energy in you?
There's some 80s energy in me, yeah.
Stacks, you ready?
Yeah, man. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Michael Ironside and Mark Singer starred in what TV sci-fi series?
Nah.
Who had a hit in 1985 with the song Trapped?
Oh man, the song's in my head. I can't get it. Nah, I'm flop for that.
Okay. In what year did Pizza Hut open in the UK?
Oh my god! All right, 1985.
What tabloid newspaper was called the News of the World on Sundays?
Daily Mail.
Complete the name of the TV show. Last of the Summer.
Wine.
What form of transportation is a muddy fox?
Nah, you got me there.
Oh, Rash, man, Rash.
Okay. Well, you know, you paused on a lot. So, Rash,
Go on.
you played the game. You answered 6. And you got 1.
That's terrible.
So, sorry, Rash, man. Sorry, man. The 80s energy weren't there, man.
Do you know what the thing was? Something in my head. I could hear that track in my head, but I couldn't figure out what it was.
Can you sing the song?
No, I ain't singing the song.
Well trapped.
Okay, Chris, can you tell him what he got wrong, please?
Yeah, you passed on a couple, man. So the first one, Michael Ironside, Mark Singer, they were from the sci-fi TV series V. Were you ever into V? Did you?
Yeah, I watched V.
They were the two main dudes. I thought you would have got that with Michael Ironside. I would have thought you'd have got that.
No, I knew the actor was, but I just couldn't clock him out.
1985 hit with Trap. That was Colonel Abrahams. Colonel Abrahams' is his real name as well. You know that. Didn't know that, man.
Yeah, that was his name. Yeah.
That was his actual name. Yeah. The year Pizza Hut opened. Now, this is a bit, a lucky guess for anyone. It was 1980. 1980 was the year Pizza Hut opened. The tabloid newspaper that owned News of the World was The Sun. It was their Sunday edition. And what form of transportation? Again, I thought you'd have got this Muddy Fox and mountain bike.
I was young in the 80s, man. I was
we all were young in the 80s.
80s is the hard one for me, man.
We're going to have to just keep it on Marvel. I listened to one of your podcasts. You've done one about the Jokers, haven't you? Before.
Yeah, you done one about Jokers as well. That was one of the last ones that we've done as well.
That was one of your last episodes, was it? And there was another one. Are they all about Marvel then?
No, it's different stuff, different films. Just any recent films that are out as well. I've just done a review of a few of the recent ones that I watched at the time. I haven't done one for a little while though, so it's been a bit difficult. Usually I record them here.
It's straight out the box, is it? It's called Straight Out the Box.
It's straight out the box. Yeah, it's on SoundCloud and on Spotify and all that's on there.
Cool.
Cool.
Rash, with this
Check it
podcast being about things we're taking to the 80s with us on lockdown, what board game, if you could take any one board game with you into lockdown, what would you take with you from the 80s? Monopoly? Yeah. You're good at that.
But that to me, I played that a lot in the 80s. Or I suppose Cluedo maybe as well. Monopoly, definitely, 100%.
Good game for lockdown because it lasts so long.
Exactly.
Yeah, we go with that.
Everything's online though, man. I'm just stuck in the computer. I'm playing Star Wars Battlefront too.
Yeah, Rash, man. I'm sorry you only got one, man.
I was worried about the 80s one. I would have been better on a specific subject.
You need to watch UK Gold. Yeah.
If they had only Fools and Horses questions, I might have got it. But
You need to watch UK Gold
I
again.
don't know how the last of summer wine because I always remember that was on a Sunday. That's all I remember. Sundays I would always be on
UK Gold and Forces TV. That'll do a trick for you. Pure nostalgia. Thanks for taking part, Rash.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for joining in,
Appreciate
mate.
that, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Right.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Woo! Some great contestants on the show, man. But time's come for another end. Thanks for listening, guys. We out. Stay safe. Peace.
Those were the days I remember.